All right, guys, welcome back into what is it, the fifth betting podcast now? We are going live for the first major here. So if we have some technical difficulties here, it's our first time going live with Hazi here. We did have a pretty stellar week last week with the betting podcast. Do you want to touch on that a little bit, Hazi?
Yeah, I think our Barracuda picks did really, really well as well. They were all up there, kind of fighting for it down the stretch. And it's kind of cool to see a tournament that has some alternative scoring. And it was kind of weird to see because it's not necessarily just the guy's got to make a birdie to tie. Like Richie made a birdie and then leapfrogs Merritt, so it's like. So it's kind of cool to see stuff like that. And I think he got kind of lucky chipping in there on 15 or pitching it in from 40, 50 yards, however far he was. But yeah, and then, yeah, you had JT in the outright card. I had Ricky, man, 200. Like, he literally could have been – I think he birdied because I stopped watching him. I don't know what he did on 16 on the final round. But
Yeah.
I think he birdied 2 out of the 8 par 5s. He legitimately could have birdied the first 3 holes to start Sunday. And I honestly told my dad, I'm like, he hit one bad shot on 4, and it wasn't even that bad of a shot. He likes to play fade, and he kind of just blocked it out a little bit, and he had like 50 feet, and then he 3-putted from there, and then from that moment on, he did not hit one solid full shot.
Yeah.
Awful tee shot on 5, awful tee shot on 6, 7, just completely crumbled. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it quite a bit. It was just a matter of is he going to keep it together for a full
Yeah.
tournament? And he didn't. He
No.
choked on the Sunday, but you were right on top of Brooks Koepka quite a bit there. That was pretty solid. Even the matchup bets that were on last week, pretty much all of them hit, whether it was the Barracuda Championship or whether it was the WGC event. So it's really stellar, just all around for the betting card last week, and even pretty much the last 4 videos have been pretty solid. So we'll get it kicked off here. We do have a question coming in from Big Chakung. I don't know how to say it. He's asking Tiger Woods or Patrick Cantlay for the betting card. Which one would you rather go with?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't seen much out of Cantlay since he's returned. I know that he's healthier, I guess. Wise, California weather's it's fall in San Francisco pretty much, but I don't know. I trust Tiger Woods around this track more than I do Patrick Cantlay. And I mean, Tiger does have that early late tee time, which everyone was kind of hoping for, that he has ample time to rest his back. So I like Tiger Woods.
Yeah. So, what is your kind of overall thought for just like people that live in that California area or had lived there or had played college golf there? Do you kind of where's the distinct advantage there?
Yeah, I think it's just knowing how to play in these cooler temperatures. I mean, you look at all of these guys from Florida, they've never really experienced the summer where they're playing mentally just to be like it's August and I'm having to wear long sleeves and long pants and going out there where it's in the mid 50s or whatever the case may be, and just the familiarity with the marine layer that's coming in. You saw Tiger already talking about that. Like he was saying, people were laughing at their TrackMan numbers. Like kind of couldn't believe how their ball speed and club head speed was. And I mean, guys like Morikawa played golf at Cal right there. Tiger from Cypress, California played at Stanford. Look at Xander Schauffele from San Diego. Like, look at the Farmers all the time. There's always a delay of some sorts in the first or second round due to the fog. So, I mean, these guys are just used to it and they just know how to roll with the punches, and they more so know how to club down or club up or whatever the case may be. And I know it's not Poana this week, but still, just the familiarity with playing in California, especially also West Coast time and all that. I like the California guys a lot this week.
Just like getting used to the time adjustment and whatnot. That makes sense. Yeah, I think the big thing this week is mostly just like who are the players that play well in these kind of conditions, like the windy conditions, somewhat damp conditions, and just tighter fairways where it is playing like a true like major event, whether it's the Open Championship or like the U.S. Open last year. I think that's going to be kind of what it plays
Almost
like.
like a hybrid.
Yeah, it really is. We got some viewers coming in as well. This is the first live stream for the betting podcast. So just let us know if there's any hiccups in the stream and we'll get that corrected right away. So we do have another question coming in as well. He's wondering about, same guy, Adam Scott, Gary Woodland, or Tony Finau. I'll answer that. For me, I'm going with Gary Woodland. I think he has the most upside to win. He's a great staff fit. We've seen him produce at the PGA Championship the last 2 years. Obviously, the U.S. Open last year. He's a guy that typically just plays well in this, bad weather events. I do like Adam Scott quite a bit, but it's his first event back, and I don't really think we can expect him to do anything other than maybe top 10. I don't think he's going to win. And then Tony Finau, that's a hit or miss play. He might be one of my targets for guy I would maybe bet on, but I'm not playing on DraftKings this week.
The only thing I want to say, I'm 99% sure it was Adam Scott's first event back at the Genesis, and he went on to
And
win
that's
it.
when he won. Yeah, I believe that's
Yeah.
true as well.
So
And
I mean,
he,
had the. But he was playing more often. Like I think he was playing in Australia, whatever. Like there wasn't as long of a gap of a layoff as it is this time, 4 or 5 months or whatever. But yeah, I really don't like Tony Finau this week. I think that the Sunday at Memorial and Saturday, I guess after 12, just kind of, and he's just gone backwards ever since then. To be honest with you, I know he had a good three and a half rounds at the 3M, but then again crumbling down the stretch when you're fighting off the giants of the game of Michael Thompson and Richie Rowensky, and you can't get it done. So
yeah,
especially at this course as well, I'm just not about Tony this week.
yeah, I do like Rwanski a little bit this week. He could be a sneaky play this week, but
But yeah, if you rate him one, yeah, like you said, one Woodland, two Scott, three Finau.
yeah, I like that. So we'll get right into it. So let's just go over kind of some of our favorite bets to win. So for some of you guys that are new to the betting podcast, what we like to do is hit on our top 3 favorite outright bets, and then we'll do some like longer shot winners, plus 100 to 1 and whatnot. So we'll start with below 100 to 1. We'll have Hazy kick it off.
Like the favorites you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't really like betting guys that come off a win, and so that was going to be my thing. But also just hearing the way Justin Thomas was talking about the course of how he's never really seen it. You just looked at a scorecard type of thing that's turning me off. I kind of like Rory a lot this week. He's flying under the radar, and usually when that happens, I mean, he plays well. I know he struggled a little bit at WGC last week in the first round, but I mean, he's stroke gained off the tee is near the top ever since the restart. We always know he's a good ball striker. Hasn't been there as much since the restart, but I mean, it's Rory McIlroy for crying out loud. And he did switch putters. He never really looked comfortable with the mallet type putter. It just personally, I felt that way, and he went back to more of the blade traditional style. And I think that I know DJ goes back and forth all the time, but maybe mentally this can give Rory like more confidence with the flat stick, and like I said, the way he bombs it off the tee, he's gonna have a lot of wedges and into some of these holes. Like I was talking to you yesterday about, I know there's some longer par fours which suit Rory's game perfectly, and then there's also some par fours that are for them that are under 400 yards. So I mean, again, that's going to benefit Rory because he's a great ball striker and he's really good with his wedges. So that's the first guy that catches my eye at 15 to 1. And then Xander, I was going to bet. He was 33 to 1 a couple weeks ago, and then his number just kept going down. I got him at 20 to 1 now. And it's like, so like, I know Xander only made one bogey last week plus the quad, but I mean, I'm not betting Xander at 19 to 1 in this field. Like, I'm sorry. I like the guy. I think he's a good player. I'm not going to be surprised if he wins, but 19 to 1 is just a little too rich for my blood. And then I have to go all the way down to Morikawa and Woods in that 35 to 1 range. Again, Morikawa on easy golf courses, he makes bogeys, and on hard golf courses, he makes bogeys. But we know he's going to make a bunch of birdies, and he's just so pure with his irons. I mean, after Tiger Woods, he's probably the second best iron player on tour. I don't think that's a stretch. And he's such a young age, and like I said, played golf at Cal. So those are the 3 guys that quickly caught my eye.
Yeah, so I like those bets quite a bit. You touched on it pretty well. Xander, I know, what was it, 2 weeks ago and last week we told you guys to, if you're going to bet on Xander, which we thought you guys should, you should have done it last week or 2 weeks ago when the odds were, a lot better than they are now. The Tiger Woods call, it's just a matter of how's he going to hold up.
If that's a more of a FOMO bet for me, and I told you that. Like, it's more just I don't want to see Tiger contending on Sunday night and me just being like, oh, man, I wish I had a ticket. It doesn't have to be worth a lot. Like, just knowing I have a ticket on Tiger to win, it just makes it that more, like, I would want him to win regardless, but just having that ticket makes it extra sweet.
Half of betting is just like having fun. That's like the fun aspect of it. So I definitely get that. So who was your last one? Colin Morikawa. I do like that. Yeah. What was it? I know like 2 weeks ago when he finally like closed it out to win, you talked about the mentality between Victor Hovland and Colin Morikawa, where Victor Hovland was kind of just nonchalant about it, and Colin Morikawa was really dialed in. You can tell that like he was really trying to go out and win that event. So I do think that that's like a separation point somewhat this week, where he's familiar with the course in the area. I think he's played it a ton actually, and then
qualifiers up there and everything.
Yeah, and he just has that mentality where he just wants to go out and win, and you've kind of seen that since he was a rookie up until now. So I do really like that call, especially at those odds as well. And he's someone that could like really have a statement week this week, where it's like, yeah, I'm here to stay. Let's go,
Yeah, it's refreshing to see a guy like that too. Like I was talking to you at the workday, like I cashed out that Hovland ticket because walking down 6, he's chatting it up. I think he was one ahead of Morikawa at the time, a few shots ahead of Thomas, and then it's like Tiger would never ever. He barely, even in the book that Stevie wrote or Hank, he would barely talk to his own caddy. Let alone talk to his opponent in the final round. He's playing competitor, so it's like I like seeing these young guys that are just like, yeah, you know what, like I got a job here to do. We'll be buddies at Medalist, we'll be buddies at Floridian or whatever the case may be. But like inside the ropes in a PGA Tour event, like unless it's a Thursday, Friday, like I'm not talking to you, and I don't blame them at all. Yeah, and that's what I like about Morikawa. When we saw Hovland, he shanked the chip shot, and you even heard him say like, yeah, I'm just not good at chipping. It's like, no, I think you can chip, Victor. It's in between here. That is your issue. It's not that you can't chip.
Yep.
You look like me and you in Florida months ago out there.
Yeah, like first time chipping in 3 months or so, being from Canada and Wisconsin. Yeah, for sure. And you hit on it. Like half of majors is just a mental game, and I don't know if Hovland has it.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah. So we'll touch on some of my favorite bets here. So you could probably guess them, but I'll start off here actually with Jon Rahm, kind of for the same reasons that you touched on with Rory. Both Rory and Jon Rahm are great, bad weather players. The reason why I like Jon Rahm the most out of all of them is here. Let me pull up the stats here. Is he is actually the best at hitting fairways. And now I know we talked like before the show that these fairways are really tight. Where like if you miss everyone's going to miss the fairway. That's just going to happen. It's maybe 60% of hit fairways would be good this week if that, but
exactly.
Yeah. But I think Rahm, last week was just kind of one of those weeks where he was, had the number 1 ranking in the world. He kind of just was, I don't know, after winning an event and whatnot, you're just kind of overlooking the next event. That just happens all the time. I think he'll be dialed into this event and be ready to go. He's a good staff fit, and he's a guy that can perform in the majors. You look at the U.S. Open last year, top 5 finish. You look at the PGA Championship in 2018, top 5 finish. He did miss a cut last year. But that was kind of when he was in a weird like mental state. I'm glad to see that he has that down now. So for like a 15-1, I don't mind that bet. And then I do really like Daniel Berger and Webb Simpson quite a bit. At their price points, we get them 30-1. Those guys can definitely go off and win. We've seen their top 10 upside. I do want to echo once again that all these bets that we're touching on, if you guys are focused on just like purely profit, just bet them the top 10 like we said last week. If you guys had done that, you would have done really well. But I do really like Daniel Berger and Webb Simpson quite a bit, but I want to go down a little bit lower. Those are not going to be my official two. Those are kind of bonus picks. I'm going to go with Gary Woodland once again. Yes, his form hasn't been superb lately. Last week was an event where maybe that's just a bad course for him. He played it poorly 2 years ago, and he played it poorly last year. He's a great bad weather player. He keeps the ball low. He's able to hit the shots where he wants to. My really only worry with Gary is like hitting fairways, but I don't think that's going to be a struggle with him. He's a great long iron player. He doesn't make many bogeys, and when he does, he's able to bounce back very well. So I like Gary a ton. I got him at 50-1, which is kind of crazy for a U.S. Open winner and a guy that has actually had a great year.
And in the same state and in the same type of weather conditions, like you mentioned. And you talked about Jon Rahm. Like these guys are so good. Sometimes I think it's hard for them to really get like motivated, if I want to say that word. And like for Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm to be not talked about this week, I think it kind of could piss them off. And just talking about the rough, like listen, Jim Furyk is the most accurate driver on the PGA Tour, however many rounds he's played, whatever. But like he's never going to win this week. And Poulter put out a Twitter video earlier today about like 2 golf balls 6 inches apart, one being with the grain, totally fine lie, and then another one 6 inches apart, sat down, you got no chance. And then towards the trees, some dried out areas, it's going to be a lottery sometimes in the rough. So guys are going to miss the fairway. You're going to have to get lucky with the bounce you get. And we saw that with Justin Thomas last week. Guy pull hooks a 3-wood on 15 and gets through the tree, and he ends up getting up and down for birdie, and he goes on to win. So you're going to have to get those type of breaks in the rough. So, yeah, I mean, looking at fairways hit, I think is going to be important, but I don't think it's the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, I agree there. Hey, Jeffrey Wilson just kind of came in and said that they can't hear one of us that well. I'm guessing it's me, or is it both of us? Can you just let us know there, Jeffrey? Just trying to button up the first live betting podcast here. So let us know there.
Me, I'm still going to blame you for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely – I got a new computer, if anyone's wondering, so – to be able to do some live streams here, but we're definitely just working out the kinks here a little bit more. The last outright bet I want to touch on. some people are probably going to hate me for saying it. I do really like Tyrrell Hatton at 55-1. It's kind of a blessing in disguise that he played poorly last week, where I think he's a guy where he was just having a poor week and he's just like, F it. Like, I'm having a bad week, whatever. I'm not going to try. But he's a guy that has dominated pretty much the last year and a half. He's made 15 straight cuts in a row. He's been a stud this year, hasn't missed a cut. Great staff fit. He typically plays well in bad weather events as well. And he hasn't missed a cut at a major, like at the majors that we're looking at for comp course history. So at 55-1 to get a guy like Tyrrell Hatton, who typically plays well in conditions like this, I like that a ton. We're getting him at decreased odds just because he played poorly last week.
I thought you were going to say Jordan Spieth for a second, and I was going to start laughing out loud. Yeah, here's a bigger joke. Phil Mickelson at 80-1. Like, I know he played well last week, but come on. Like, I don't see Phil contending at all this week unless I'm just completely off base.
Yeah, I mean, with Phil, it was pretty much just like, what was it, last week, where if you guys, if you wanted to bet him, you should have bet him last week.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's like last week you just played him just because it's like, hey, it's a good course for him.
Yeah.
It's a good event for him.
What do you think now? I know you loved Ches Reavie last week, and you even said about Ches Reavie for this week. Mm-hmm. But I think strictly for DraftKings purposes, I kind of, in terms of ownership, and they're the same odds, they're both 100-1. I like Henrik Stenson, both outright and DraftKings-wise. Mm-hmm. Like, because I know a lot of guys are going to be on Ches Reavie, especially the way he played last week. And I think Henrik Stenson is going to be way less owned than him, and I think that he could have way more upside than. You know, Henrik Stenson hits a lot of fairways, and he's unbelievable with his long irons. And we saw, unfortunately, with Ches last week that he missed like a few putts within a couple feet, which is not too like when you need a guy to make a cut, that's not what you want to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Ches a decent amount this week, so I don't know. We'll have to be a little different there.
It's not contend, obviously, but I mean, just in terms of ownership percentage, I think Stenson for sure is going to be a lot less owned than him.
Yeah, you're right there. And Stenson's a guy, once again, going back to like the bad weather, he's a guy that typically plays better in these type of events. So I do like him at his price point, and I have. I put him in like 2 builds just kind of for those reasons you just echoed. So I do get that quite a bit. Do you want to? We got another question coming in. So it's from Jeffrey, who helped us out with the audio. So thanks, guys. Glad we could get that fixed. But I know. I think he's talking about Matthew Fitzpatrick's putter has been hot, but he drives the ball good and has good long irons. So I'll touch on Matthew Fitzpatrick. I like him a ton on DraftKings. I kind of hate his odds for the DK Sportsbook. I think I got him at 35-1.
Same here.
Yeah, so I don't really like the odds, but I think he's a great play on DraftKings. I just don't think he's going to go out and win. So if you want to bet him to the top 10, I would rather do that. It's putter. It's like, if you're a good putter, you're a good putter. I don't know why people always like worry about putting splits. We've talked about that, quite a bit now. It's like, if you're a good putter, you're a good putter. That's just like a bonus to someone's game. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's who he is. He's a good putter. Like, that's just how it works out. What are your thoughts on
What a couple weeks for Bones though,
right? Come in.
I think he made like $600K or something like that.
Right.
But not bad for a side hustle.
Gosh, that was amazing. I couldn't believe that.
I actually want to see, because we see Bryson last year, he kind of did it all the time at the beginning and then changed, and we see Matthew Fitzpatrick do it on every putt. I'd like to see the stats in terms of putts made from that distance when you took the flag out to keeping it in, because Matthew Fitzpatrick, since the beginning of this rule change, has always kept the flag in. And I know this from, liking to stay up a little bit late and betting on European Tour golf and seeing him in Dubai. Like, yeah, when Matthew Fitzpatrick putts well, I've seen him putt awful more times than not, and I wonder if it has to do with the flag being in or not, and with it being windy and the flag whipping back and forth, like I know that can distract guys, and we know it's going to be windy this week, so
yeah, that's a good point. With how windy it's going to be, I wonder how many players are going to take the flag out just because of if the flag comes back at the golf ball and forces it out. That's very interesting. Real quick question though, are you a flag in or flag out guy? I mean,
flag out.
All right.
And I'm right-handed, I never pick the golf ball up out of the hole with my left hand, ever. No matter how close I am to the hole, I'll always make sure I pick the ball up with my right hand.
That's interesting, actually.
And I hate playing 9 holes. Those are my 3 things.
Oh, I always play 9 holes. That's pretty much it. That's all I have time for. Quick 2 hour. I don't know how. Yeah.
Mostly because I don't want to be, even though this never happens, I don't want to be shooting like my best round and then have to stop after 9.
Yeah, I hear you
but
there.
After 2 holes, that dream is shot, so it doesn't really matter.
My problem is I normally make a birdie on 8 or on 9, and I'm like, I want to keep going now. That's pretty much
That's
it.
me on 18. There you go.
Yeah. All right, so we got a couple more questions in. So thoughts on DJ? Feel like this course is set up really nice for him, and tough courses, and just he's talking about DFS as well, PGA DFS as well. Feel like his ownership's gonna be pretty low. So I'll touch on him
Sorry,
first.
who was it?
Dustin Johnson.
Oh, Dustin DJ. Okay.
So DJ is very interesting. I've heard a lot of people actually talking about like shot shape, like that should be like a huge thing this week. Where I get the point there, and like yes, it's going to help a certain amount of players, but in terms of like your DraftKings lineups for PGA DFS, that doesn't matter as much. Like it's just you got to get 6 for 6 across the gut line. That's all that matters. But in terms of betting outrights for DJ, if you guys want to do it, you can. Great major history. He's a guy that does play well in tough conditions. I do worry that he, played poorly those 2 weeks ago. And then the only reason really why he played well last week, I think it was because of the WGC event, an event that you really don't have to worry about making the cut or anything. What are your thoughts on DJ this week?
Yeah, and like I forgot to mention that earlier. That was actually top of my mind about a lot of these holes are doglegs to the left, and Rory McIlroy likes to draw the ball. Tommy likes to draw the ball. Stenson likes to draw the ball. Yeah, but man, listen, Rory's I guess experimented with putters. Even Tiger's experimented with putters, but to the degree that Dustin Johnson is experimenting with putters, and even to go as far as shaving his beard after the second round or whatever it was, he just woke up spur of the moment in the morning. Like, I don't know. Like, the guy goes out and wins at the Travelers, absolutely shits himself next week, whatever it was. And then he had like 5 legitimate birdie opportunities in the first 5 holes at the 3M. And then all of a sudden his back hurts. Like, don't give me that shit. He literally just wasn't feeling it, wasn't playing well. He's like, you know what? I'm in 3M Open in Minneapolis or Blaine, Minnesota, wherever the hell he was. And he's like, I just want to get out of here. I'm over this. Like, let's go back to Florida. And yeah, I just talk about mentality with Victor Hovland and, mentally not being there. Like, Dustin Johnson has only won 1 major championship. I know he had that rule debacle at the PGA at Whistling Straits, which was unfortunate. He should have won it that year. But, like, a man of his caliber being 36 years old and only having 1 major championship, like, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and bet DJ, go ahead. But I'm not betting DJ because, yeah, the putter, him changing 3 putters in 4 weeks alone makes me not want to bet him. But him being Dustin Johnson only having 1 major championship, no.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where you really see it a ton in the majors where guys that have been trending in the right direction typically go out and, produce at a major. Now, yes, he's Dustin Johnson. He could probably top 10. Once again, I think that'd be more of a play where you should just go out and bet him as a top 10 if you were thinking about betting him as outright. And you did echo a pretty fun point. It's like, how random of a win was that for DJ at the Travelers? Like, looking back, I'm like, that was just completely random now. Like,
and that's, yeah, I mean, we talk about paralysis by analysis all the time. Like, there was nothing to lead you to believe that he was going to play well that week, and then there was nothing to lead you to believe that he was going to play as poorly as he has the last couple of weeks. But yeah, man, he's had that feel. I mean, remember he fell down the stairs at Augusta like that.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. Like, all that, like, there's just too much going around. There's too much going around him. Around him. I can barely speak English. I don't know why. And it's just
Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Canadian English. But yeah, like, again, I don't know how many times I'd say it. Like, 36 years old, 1 major championship. Like, no.
Yeah, I agree there. Let's see here. So Jeffrey was wondering about Finau again. We didn't really like him as a bet or really DFS. If you want to do like a top 10 bet with him, you can. Statistically, it's proven you'll make more putts with the pin in. Yeah, I thought it depending on distance there.
Distance, yeah, for sure. It's all about distance, yeah.
And then I
want to see it more towards guys that, not that you don't make more putts, but guys that are just like keeping them in consistently, as opposed to like from 50 feet or whatever the case may be. Like, because Fitzpatrick, if the putt's 4 feet long, like the pin's in. If it's 3, like he does not take it out. So I'm just curious to see.
Yeah.
How. Yeah, and I mean, I know statistically they're more likely to go in, but I mean, like, Tiger Woods isn't going to miss putts because the flag's out.
Yeah, that's the win factor is pretty interesting. I had my
just hearing the flag, like the flag,
the
whipping.
flapping.
Yeah, the flapping, like, and you're on like a 6-foot putt for par to win the tournament or to make the cut.
That
or
could
whatever.
be
Like,
yeah.
That could be annoying because there's no fans around. You don't hear any chattering, which you would normally. Like, it's literally no one's there. You're just constantly hearing it.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting there. I got my buddy Aaron Moyer in the live stream. That's pretty interesting. He said DJ is Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what that means. Maybe
I think that's a shot at you. He's definitely not Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the NFL.
yeah. Hey, Josh Allen, the best sleeper out there. Yeah, DJ is not a sleeper player either. You know, people know who DJ is.
Yeah, I mean, if they got it, if they didn't have Mike McCarthy for all those years, he probably would have won more. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with DJ. Like he's literally like he's a Hall of Famer already with his stats. Like he's already in the Hall of Fame. But like he should have won way more majors. It really doesn't make any sense.
Well, the one that he choked on where he three putted, that's a very similar course. I think.
Yes, I forgot about that one. Yes, that's right.
Are you worried about them losing the course at all this week, or that like they did at that tournament because of the high winds and it's the PGA? You know, I'm kind of worried about them losing the course and specifically on the greens this week. Are you at all?
More so, I'm not worried because when you like the U.S. Open they want even par to be the winning score, right? And I feel like the PGA wants it, 9-10 under par. So like, how much could they really lose the course for it to get unplayable? Like we saw at Shinnecock Hills, where in 04, forget last time, but in 04 where they like had to like pause groups. I think it was on the 7th hole, the par 3, like literally to water the green because they could not keep the ball on the green no matter what. So I don't think the PGA is going to lose the course. I mean, I think Beth Page played extremely tough last year, and I think it was a fair test. But and you even remember DJ I think it was the 2010 U.S. Open where McDowell won. He shot, I think, what did he shoot, 81 or 79, somewhere in there in the final round. Yeah, and then I completely forgot against Spieth there at Chambers Bay. Yeah, there's a lot of missed opportunities for him. Wow.
Yeah, the big blow up holes or rounds are always there for him. Real quick from Jeffrey as well. He's saying Josh Allen and the Bills, baby, going to the Super Bowl. Could definitely see it.
Last year I had money on him at 100-1, and this year everyone dropped out of the Patriots. Yeah, I could talk about this for hours, but like, man, I like the Bills' chance a lot this year, especially with the COVID stuff going on. Like, being a Bills fan, like they're a very cohesive unit.
Yeah,
especially with their head coach with McDermott. So
best coach in the league. I'm dead serious. Other than Belichick, I honestly believe he's.
And I hate hiring. I was pissed off when you hired a defensive coach because of the way the NFL is today. But like, I'm happy they did.
Yeah, he's by far the most underrated coach. So we got another question coming in, then we'll get into your bets from 100 plus 100-1. So real quick, thoughts on Jordan Spieth?
No, I hate Jordan Spieth, so that's more why I am betting Tiger Woods and why I'm not betting Jordan Spieth.
Yeah.
But again, this is gonna be a thing. And listen, I love money, so whatever. But until Jordan Spieth shows me that he can contend and win something, especially in this type of field, then I'll think about it.
Yeah. So my only thing on Jordan, he is where I know this is early for the segment, but Jordan Spieth is my player that I would bet on, that I'm not going to have on DraftKings at all because you can't really trust him to make the cut. Although he has grinded out a ton of made cuts, which is kind of crazy given his like stat fit each week. But we saw in was it last year's U.S. Open or 2 years ago U.S. Open? Maybe it was the Open Championship. I forget which one it was, but he was like in 50th place to start the day, and he was the only player that like shot under par, and he ended up top 10ing that week. I forget what major that was, but that's kind of the only reason why I somewhat like him, where Jordan Spieth's kind of just a gritty guy. I'm not going to bet him to outright win, but I could definitely see him, once again, that's a player who I would be fine with a top 10 bet.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you see it though in those rounds? He's just literally making putts from everywhere.
Yeah,
exactly. So, because he doesn't drive it very well. He used to, but not anymore. It's going everywhere.
He is. So, and you can't do that this week.
No, especially with those cypress trees. Like, forget you're going to hit offline, but because look, they're not very dense. Seeing the aerial shots, like you're going to have some opportunities to punch it out towards the green. Like you could easily get stymied behind one of these things, like how like thick they are at the bottom. Like hitting it in the air, like there's not a lot of branches around there going to hit your ball. That's what I mean by dense. Obviously the bases, but I could totally see a lot of guys being stymied this week.
Yeah, I agree. All right, you want to give your favorite long shot bets, outright bets?
I know you're gonna have a big grin on your face with your buddy there, Harris English, but at 100-1, like, he hits it great, and I mean his bogey avoidance is one of the best on tour too. So you get a guy at 100-1 that hits it great and doesn't make a lot of bogeys, and at an event where it's not the Travelers where you have to shoot 20 under par, he definitely has a chance this week.
Would you bet Stenson at all that deep?
That was literally what I was hemming and hawing about. Like, listen, he's a world-class player. There were signs last week to show that, first event back, whatever, and he's going to hit a lot of fairways because he rarely hits driver. So I mean, yeah, I don't mind him at 100-1. I mean, you look at guys around him like Paul Casey, no. Ches Reavie, personally, I like Henrik Stenson more this week. Bubba Watson, you have no idea what you're going to get with him
Nope.
in any given week.
Nope.
Brendan Todd, absolutely not. Danny Willett, ever since that Rocket Mortgage performance, he's absolutely shit himself. Joaquin Neiman, nope. Matt Wallace, he turned me off last week. I know a lot of guys are high on him, but no. Tom Lewis, yeah, okay, he had two good rounds, and then that was it.
He wouldn't have made the cut if it was a normal event.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we keep seeing it all the time. Actually, Cameron Champ maybe for the flyer, just in terms of a guy who bombs it off the tee and is actually fairly accurate when he does that. So, but these events are always going to be won by the guys from, obviously, Rahm, McIlroy, Koepka, Thomas can win in the teens, but like the 20 to 60 range is where you're going to hit most of your bets. So if you want to put top 10 some of these guys, I don't mind that at all, because if all this pressure affects everyone differently. Like a lot of these guys never won a major championship. I know we saw Keegan Bradley do it at the PGA years ago for the first time, but a lot of guys could just get nervous come down the stretch with a 2 or 3 shot lead, and then you're going to be pissed you didn't just out the top 10 it. So I think those longer shot bets are better for the top 10s and the top 20s than they are to go on and win.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. What are your thoughts, though, on like the weather playing a key factor in someone kind of more random going out and winning? Do you see that happening? Because I kind of think with the weather being as tough as it is, we could potentially see that where it feels like just like a normal, 5 to 10 degree mile an hour winds, then we wouldn't have to worry about it. Where this week, I think maybe like someone like Zach Johnson, when he won his major, or I guess Danny Willett when he won it, where the longer shot bet where you kind of see it happening. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't mind a longer shot bet that
sneaks into a win.
Yeah, but even to win, let's just say, I saw some tweets about these greens aren't overly challenging to read. So you look at Friday, I think it's 2 miles an hour in the morning and can get up to 25 in the afternoon. And it's I saw tweets how do you set the course up from that? And you can't. You cannot be okay, it's going to be 25 in the afternoon, so we're going to put pins here. Okay, so you're going to get guys in the morning going out and shooting 8-9 under par it's no big deal because you're trying to protect the afternoon wave. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's probably, I know Tiger tees off late on Friday, but it's a distinct advantage, I think, to be going late early in this tournament. Yeah. And maybe a longer shot guy that, is going to have an opportunity to attack some of these pins early Friday.
Yeah, or
Harris English.
Yeah, or even early Sunday potentially, where they go 5 under par, and then everyone else it plays a ton more tough, and it's
absolutely,
yeah, it sneaks into a win. So I could see that happening, but we'll get into some.
Tommy at 2018 U.S. Open, where he was so far behind on Sunday, and I think he bogeyed 18 but Brooks ended up bogeying. But regardless, and he finished 1 or 2 shots back, tied a record 62 or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so yes, you already mentioned my favorite long shot bet. It's Harris English for all the reasons we already mentioned. He's just been a top 20 machine this year. I mean, it's pretty crazy that we're getting a guy that has looked as good as he is and is as good of a stat fit, and a guy that has made the cut at a major last year as well, the U.S. Open, which I think is a great comp course to look at. He's 100-1, which is just kind of crazy to me. I'm going to be eating that up. I like that quite a bit. I know you kind of mentioned that you didn't like Ches too much. I think his odds were a lot better last week, and
they were 175-1 last week.
Okay, so yeah, I hope people took advantage of that because it just made a lot more sense than 100-1. Yeah, you can throw a little bit on there. I could see him easily top 10ing. I don't see him winning though. That's the thing. It's I could see Harris English going out and popping and getting that win. I'm not sure Ches can go on and do that.
Oh, and that's the key to betting too. Sorry, quickly, just listen, I like Xander. I think he has a chance to win this week, but you have to set a number for yourself, when you're playing blackjack at the casino. If I lose this much, if Xander gets to a certain price, I just cannot bet it. I can't. Sorry. If Xander was 25, sign me up. But 22, okay, south of 20, no, I'm sorry. Xander, go out and win, play well, but sorry, not betting it.
Yeah, and that's why we've been talking about it the last 2 weeks, is because we knew that some of these guys were most likely going to play well, and you guys should, taking advantage of them the last 2 weeks were. That's just kind of how it works with majors. That's kind of the beauty of them as well.
Yep.
All right, and then, talking about someone that I could see maybe sneaking in I don't even want to say it, but like Russell Henley at 150 to 1, I don't love it at all. He's an accurate player. He doesn't make many bogeys. He's a guy where it's like, oh, he snuck in a top 10 or he snuck in a top 5 somehow with like a wave advantage. I could see that happening because I think that this is a course that's going to benefit a guy like Henley where he doesn't really score at all. He's not a guy that's going to go out and score. He's a guy that's not going to make many mistakes. He's a guy that should be able to make the cut. And in a week like this where, the cut should probably be around like even or, -2, maybe +1. It really just depends on how the course plays. I could see him kind of sneaking into that, kind of falling into that criteria that we were talking about. But honestly, my favorite one, which I have two favorites, Nick Taylor. I don't even know if I have to touch on that. I've touched on Nick Taylor a ton already. 200 to 1 though for a guy that's a top 20 staff hit. He does play well in bad weather events. He played well at the U.S. Open last year. I just really like him at 200 to 1. It's pretty crazy that we're getting him at 200 to 1. I honestly thought that he would be like 100 to 1. I was shocked at his price point on DraftKings in general. It's just a crazy price point. Yes, he might not make the cut. Obviously, he's this low for a reason, but he's kind of checking all the boxes for something that you want to see at those low of odds. And then my last one this low is Richie Rowensky. The dude has had 2 straight top 5 finishes, and he's just been getting better each week. I'll pull up his stats here on my stat sheet that I got to the side here. 1 second.
Quickly, I while you're looking that up, a guy that just stripes the hell out of the golf ball, Sepp Straka, just kind of caught my 250 to 1. And look, and this is why I try and say sometimes too, like, okay, let's say you like Brooks a lot this week. Everyone seems to think Brooks is going to run away with it. Okay, that's fine. Brooks is 12 to 1. You can get Sepp Straka at 8 to 1 to top 20. And this is a course where he should succeed at. A guy who literally hits the hell of the golf ball and seems to be able to putt a little bit. Like, you're going to get relatively the same odds for a guy just a top 20.
Yeah, and honestly, just going on with that thought, I do like Sepp Straka, but like just in general with those like longer shot guys that we just touched on, like Seb, if you guys want to bet them to top 20, like at 8 to 1, all you have to do is hit on like 2 of those and you're going to be profiting. You just need to hit on 1 of them really to like break even. So it's kind of like last week where if you just kind of would have made those bets, you would have had a huge week where I could definitely see that happening once again this week where if they miss the cut, they miss the cut, whatever. But once they do make the cut, they have a great chance to top 20. Yeah, so getting back into Richie Rowensky. So he's the best like long iron player on the tour right now. He ranks first in that. He's a strong putter, and he doesn't make too many bogeys, and he's actually top 50 in bounce back percentage after a bogey as well. So he kind of grades out as a sneaky play for a guy that's been, getting better each week. And at those odds, 175 to 1, I don't mind it. It's not a bad play. I would say, bet him to top 20 once again as well, or top 10.
And I like it, too, in terms of these guys were already in California last week. They're already used to the time zone. They're already, used to West Coast type golf. I know the golf courses are 2 completely different courses, but just being on the West Coast, just getting your feet wet, so to speak. Like, yeah, I know Richie Rowensky got it done. I know, and that says a lot about his mental state being, so close to 3M and then bouncing right back and getting a victory.
Yeah, so that was pretty sweet to see, honestly. After having him as an outright bet at the 3M Open and then just going right back at it the next week, it was pretty fun. Got another quick question coming in here. So it's a matchup one. Shane Lowry versus Mark Leishman and /or DJ versus Xander. So what? Why would DJ versus Xander be a freaking bet? Like,
I think it's based off of odds, just because they're in the same area. I think DJ is 23 on Bet365. Yeah, and Xander's 19. So I think that's why they do that.
That's interesting.
But for the first one, I like Lowry a hell of a lot more than Mark Leishman. What the hell has Mark Leishman done since winning the Farmers?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
0. Shane Lowry played well last week. Mm-hmm. And recently he's played a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all 4 of them are good, like bad weather players, but Shane Lowry I actually think is a sneaky play this week as well. I don't think he's going to win, but I like that. Yeah, so Lowry and Xander for sure for those 2 questions, definitely. Did you see any matchups that you like betting wise at all?
Well, man, I know we talked about Ricky Fowler last week, but I don't know. I don't even know if he ended up winning that group because I didn't write it down because after 54 holes, it was all locked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And I forget.
After 56 holes, it was locked up.
I forget what that matchup was, but you touched on like Brooks Koepka, which you really were high on for his matchup, and obviously he won that one. The group. We did the group bets there.
These matchups are a little bit more tougher this week. But yeah, I got DJ and Xander. He's probably on Bet365 as well. So Xander $1.83. I like using decimal odds. I like Xander this week. Brooks Koepka against JT. I really like Brooks Koepka over JT this week. Brooks Koepka probably going to go on and win, to be honest with you. I know it's a bold statement to make in a major, but like I think he play a lot better than JT. Again, Shane Lowry I like a lot better than Mark Leishman. Oh man, these are actually really hard matchups. Patrick Reed against Gary Woodland. I'm not touching that one. Morikawa against Berger, another tough one. McIlroy, Rahm, yeah, I don't know. I think the ones that he mentioned are my two favorites, and then adding in Brooks Koepka over Justin Thomas, I would go with.
Yeah, I would agree there too, especially kind of somewhat of a hangover effect for JT being the world number one once again, coming off of a victory. I do have some right here for just matchups. Here, let me pull it up on.
And also because JT admittedly said he's not familiar with the golf course, and that's not terribly encouraging.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
he might have been sugarcoating it. I don't know. All right, so I'm just going to go through some of the groups real quick. We got Group C: Morikawa, Woods, Fitzpatrick, Day, Woodland. I'm just going to rapid fire this. I'm going to go with. I'm not touching that one actually. Just not touching that one. Group A: we got JT, Brooks, Bryson, Rahm, Rory. Don't touch that one. Group B: Xander, Cantlay, DJ, Berger, Webb. Do not touch that one. All right, this one's decent. We got Group D: Answer, Ricky, Hatton, Hideki, and Reed. So I think we go back to the well with our strategy last week where you just placed a bet on two of them and just try to make a profit. So I like Answer and Hatton a ton there. And then let me do two more groups and I'll get your thoughts on that. Group E is Finau, Fleetwood, Sergio, Horschel, and Hovland. That's interesting there.
I like Fleetwood a lot out of that group.
Yeah, that's good. And then the last one is Group F: Scott, Spieth, Matt Kuchar, Scottie Scheffler, and Kevin Na.
I kind of like Scottie Scheffler out of that group, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that one's weird. I don't know. I think I'd go with Scott there. I think I'd just kind of go with Scott there.
Scottie Scheffler getting some love though in the group betting.
Is he?
You don't see that very often.
Yeah. Oh, and and that's kind of a weird that he's up there for sure. Yeah. So
someone should send him a text about that. Give him some extra motivation for Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, for real. Dude's a scorer, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Went low at the career build or whatever the hell that's called now.
I think next year's going to be easier for sure, I think. All right, so do you want to do our top 40 bets and then we'll do our one and dones and pretty much wrap this up? I think we touched on it quite a bit. Pretty well.
I don't think I can get top 40s, but I can get top 20s.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you do top 20s. I'll do some top 40s. I'll just touch on some of them already. Richie Rowensky's plus, what is it, 188. I like that a ton. Got some lower guys. I think Nick Taylor was like plus 200 to 1, which like once again, guys, you pretty much just have to make the cut, and then you're pretty much smooth sailing here. You got some like Henrik Stenson's 100 or plus 175, which is pretty solid. Russell Henley plus 163, which not as good, but still not bad. Even someone like Chez plus 110, that's not bad. Harris English, same thing as Chez. Those are not bad ones.
Yeah.
To top 40. Those are easy 40, to hit.
Yeah. Just to clarify, and for top 20, I think a lot of the guys you mentioned, I already said Sepp Straka 8-1 in top 20. Guy who can, great ball striker. Got Henrik Stenson 5-1 to top 20. Another guy who hits it unbelievably well, and I think that's going to be crucial this week to get guys that hit the ball really well. Because I mean, unless you have just a short game where you're getting everything up and down, then being able to hit your longer irons is going to be key this week. So I like those two. Even Richard Rowensky, I don't mind this week. I know his stats are trending upwards, and like I said last week, and just based off his tweet, Matthias Schwab at 7-1. Mm-hmm. He almost won last week. Guy who can't really putt, but great tee green.
He's a guy that I like better for like a top 20, to be honest with you, rather than a top 40, because if his game's on, it's going to be pretty nice like it was last week. Yeah. Were those your top 20 bets, or were you just...
Top 20, yeah, top 20.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's a very interesting week, though, because like it's not going to be as drastic as last week, but I do think the weather's going to play such a huge role where like you could be feeling comfortable going into Sunday and then it just falls apart for you, or it could be vice versa, kind of like what happened with me last week, where it's like Sunday came around. I was feeling good up until like about 12, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm not cashing in any contest. And then by the end of it, I was having a profitable week. I could somewhat see that being this week, although I think it's gonna be crazy. The weather just adds a shit ton of variance where you just can't predict it. There's gonna be some random miscuts where you just like if Xander misses a cut, it'd be shocking, but like that kind of just happens in majors.
For sure. I won a whopping $18 last week on DraftKings after my teams just absolutely blew up on Sunday. And it was funny, at the 3M Open, I played that $200 single entry, and I was winning it on Thursday at like, I don't know, 2, 3 o'clock. So
yeah.
I screenshotted it just to have it, just to see what it looks like to have a nice little winning 100K up there. But
see,
yeah, man, it's like even if there was no salary cap in DraftKings, you would still not win a lot of money, honestly. Like, I think irrelevant of having a salary cap, it does not. It makes things more interesting. I think that's all it does. Because I honestly do not think there's like it would be any noticeable difference if you had no salary cap. Because even if you want to take the top 6 guys at the 3M Open, you would have gotten absolutely screwed. And at the majority of events, you get absolutely screwed.
Yeah, especially like just going back to it, like after a huge break like we saw, or at the beginning of a season, there's just a lot more random finishes. So I agree with that. And just echoing that, dude, this week in DraftKings, I have a couple of lineups where I have like 1,000 left over where I just feel good about it. I have Harris, Inglis, and Ches in a ton of those, but like I feel good about those.
Yeah, man, I put one entry in the Millionaire Maker, and it's literally like I put it in, kind of use some stats to see what I want, and I'm not touching it. I know it's Tuesday, but like every single time I set a lineup, I go in on a Wednesday night, dick around with it, and I always regret it. So this way, I'm literally just leaving it in there, and I'm done. I don't care if the team comes dead last. It is what it is, but I hate when I do that. It gets me every single time.
I reserve the entry, and then I wait until pretty much after this live stream, and that's when I kind of finalize my builds. So I don't know. That's my success there.
That probably makes a lot more sense than I'm doing, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that way, like, you get your full thought process in there, and then you just don't touch it after that. You're not giving yourself that much time. All right, so is your hockey team winning?
No, Leafs 0-0. But I want them to lose anyways. I think this team stinks. They need to be blown up. I don't care if anyone is a Leafs fan that is going to watch this and think otherwise, but it's too soft, this team.
I gotcha. All right, so guys, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. If you have any questions, get them in here within the next like minute or so, and then we're going to be getting out of here for the PGA Championship. We'll be going live again tomorrow, probably around 3 p.m. Central, maybe 4 p.m. We'll figure it out, like 3 p.m. Central. That'd be a good one. If there is bad audio, we'll go back and listen to it on this. It should have been okay, but we're going to try to get that fixed for for tomorrow as well. Any closing thoughts, Ozzy?
Hopefully I don't lose all my money on DraftKings. I had $400 going into the Memorial and or going into the 3M. Sorry, not the Memorial. And then I had $18 left, so I had to deposit $5 just to be able to put a team in there. So hopefully I have some money left over for next. I'd like to not deposit again.
You're a GPP only type of guy, though, right? The Millie Maker and like.
Go big or go home.
Yeah,
buddy.
Exactly.
If DraftKings has a picture of me in their marketing department, like, I see $1 million first place, sign me up. I don't want to play the $5 or the double ups and have 100K after 2 years or 3 years. I don't want it. No. I want it after 4 days.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm the complete opposite guy. I just play pretty much cash contests, a little bit GPPs here. So I've grinded out a profit the last pretty much since the break. So yeah, you do.
What you have to do. It's all about bankroll management, which I know what bankroll management is, but I personally do not practice it because I'm an idiot sometimes. And see guys that play poker all the time too. It's like, listen, you got to use like 1%. Even when we say about gambling, 1% of your roll. Nope. Me sometimes I just.
Especially this year where it's like, man, we didn't have golf for 3 months. I want to attack these. Yeah.
Sports for 3 months. Forget just golf.
That's true. Exactly.
Nothing for that. I was watching 0-1 Leaf games against Ottawa. I was like, is this really what life has come to now?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see everything back.
But I mean, that's why like just betting on golf, it's so much easier than like DraftKings. But like DraftKings, I think is more fun. It's more of a fun thing for sure.
Yeah, like listen, you put $200 in a single entry, 100K to first. Okay, that's fine. If you come like fifth, I think it's like 5K maybe. You're better off putting $200 on a guy like Xander, who's going to pay you 4K if he wins. You don't have to worry about 5 other guys, and he's a guy who, even to win that 5K, you're going to need a guy on your lineup that wins the event. So that could totally be Xander, and you're going to make the same amount of money.
Well, like for example, last week I had a lineup with 5 players inside the top 10. It's a WGC event, so it's a little bit different, but that didn't have a chance of winning, which is like, what the fuck? If you just bet those guys to top 10, easily a huge profitable week. All right, we got one question here, and then we'll wrap it up. We already kind of touched on this. Our top 3 golfers, I pretty much think it's Xander for sure. Probably Rahm and Rory would be like the top 3 I think we touched on. Obviously, this is a major event. There's some other players that we like Berger, Webb. What about you? I mean, that's
yeah, it's literally just Tiger because he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And it's Tiger Woods. I don't really give a shit like how he hasn't played a lot. He says he on the tour he's played a lot in Florida, but I know his back is whatever. But if he can keep it warm, like he said he needed to, and layer up like you said, and it's Tiger Woods. Like I don't like even if he's a little stiff, like he still manages a way to grind and turn in a score. Yeah, and then Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa. Basically, the 3 best ball strikers on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just asked about Rahm again. Yeah, Rahm's a good play. He's a good bet. He could easily go on and win this. But that is it for the live stream for the betting podcast. Hopefully the audio quality is pretty good. If not, we'll get that taken care of for next week as well.